Okay, I'm getting into the transhumanist cult, and that's who runs the planet. That's the modern name of the eugenicist. Julian Huxley changed the name when he was the head of the United Nations UNESCO program and wrote a big white paper that's we linked to in Endgame, whatistheendgame.com, the online bibliography. I mean, that's what's so crazy about this is I've got, all I do is read their internal handbooks and stuff that's public. They think they've beaten us so bad that they don't even care. They just prance around publicly. And I was at a dinner party last night, and it was biologist, a molecular biologist, doctors, you name it, and I was, they were telling me about all this, and it just reminded me of just how widespread this is, and how it's being rolled out on the public. So that's coming up. Oh, it was marine biologist as well. I forgot that one. But that's all these people talk about. That's all anybody with a PhD talks about. And most of them, I've noticed in the past, thought they were going to be part of it. These folks knew they weren't. They all acted like folks that knew they were getting ready to be lined up in front of a firing squad, because one of them was a consultant to big corporations and government, and he knew all about it and was pretty freaked out. But they didn't even know who I was. They knew because they worked in and around these people. And that's why you'll notice none of these people have children. And they told me about going dark and how most of the intelligentsia is just preparing to die. I can't believe. Meanwhile, you got the general public running around telling you about basketball and football and the average male driving around acting tough in their truck. Meanwhile, they're poisoning your food, your water, you're under full attack. Oh, I can't handle it anymore. I'm sorry, it's coming up. This makes me rethink everything. I mean, I'm a guy who's been a trailblazer exposing it all, but it's just how real it is. They're really doing it. They're really, all right. I want to go to this 2-minute video. The Rochester police ticket supporters of woman arrested for recording cop in Rochester, New York. If you dare protest against the thuggish behavior of the local cops, you might get a big fat ticket. For radio listeners, they've got like 5 or 6 squad cars pulled up at a community event for support of the woman arrested for filming police from her own yard, Emily Good. And Kurt goes on to say, this is what you would expect in a communist country or some tin-horn dictatorship, not in America. And the cops are out with rulers, and if they're 12.5 inches out from the curb, it's big, wide streets, they give them tickets. And it's big, tough cops with tattoos getting off on it. They're going to show you, for putting that viral video out, they're going to show you trying to stand up. They're going to show you little people. They're going to videotape you and listen to your phone calls. But you're not gonna videotape them. So here they are trying to politically persecute the folks that we're meeting to defend this woman. I mean, this is beyond evil. Here it is. Imagine they got better things to do. Crime's going on all over Rochester. High crime.
W80, W94, W74.
And all these cop cars they're giving them tickets. They're talking about dishonoring all of that, the scientific dictatorship, having a breakaway civilization under global national security, corporate security, that we are not allowed to be transcendent and enter. Now, whether any of this is actually going to happen or not, this is what the entire modern infrastructure, pre-computer, biometrics, 150-year-old science for genetics and racial hygiene, Cold Springs Harbor Eugenics Lab, the Human Genome Project, for global extermination, for race-specific bioweapons. All of this, the founder of IBM, the first computers, the Hollerith machines, were to decide how to round up blacks and kill them. Then Hitler said, I love it. And IBM, Mr. Watson loved it. He sent technicians to Germany and throughout the war, and that was what the Jews and others had on their arm, was a number to be entered in the IBM machine to decide how long to work them before you kill them. Now we just have an NSA Google model that's tracking everybody, figuring out exactly who you really are, what's going to be done to you, how it's all standardized, baby's blood for now 39 years, taken secretly globally, global government set up more than 50 years ago, total standardization. They're mopping up the few final countries they don't control. Now, that said, I want to go to this video clip. I'm at this dinner party with next-door neighbors. I get invited over there. And they had marine biologists and molecular biologists and doctors and corporate, integration team leader, fusion PhDs. And none of them knew who I was, which is a rarity, except for folks that invited me. And they were there working with some filmmakers is why I was invited. And they said, Alex, what we're worried about if you're a talk show host is the thing that the hospitals have really been set up to kill people now, but it's compartmentalized. The doctors don't even know. And that it's more dangerous to go to the hospital, than to not. And this is all being engineered in. And as Ray Kurzweil's saying, they're about to merge with machines, and the technology is doubling now every year, and computers will be 1 trillion times faster than humans within, 20 years, and the future doesn't need us, and the global elite plan to, do all of this. And I said, no, I know about all that. And I told the guy a few things. He goes, wow, you know about that. And I said, yes. And he says, well, how do you fight going dark like so many other people are doing? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, so many people that are learning about this, there's the decision to join it, or there's the decision to go dark and just spend the time you've got with your family and just prepare for all of this. And he said, well, the way we're going to be able to beat the machines, as Kurzweil says, is because they're going to be so much faster, is we must merge ahead of time. So there's a race of who will merge first. So it's like an arms race, but it's a tech race. Now, again, whether all of this is really going to happen or not, and much of it has, Kurzweil, and we'll play when we come back from break, Kurzweil has a new movie coming out that everybody's sending me and hyping. And have you ever heard of this? Yeah, I made a film about it 4 years ago. And not just with Kurzweil's quotes. And it's this happy-go-lucky, thing about he's optimistic about humanity and we're going to merge with machines. And the T-shirt they sell is get ready, for evolution. And it's the next level. What they don't tell you is Kurzweil and all these people, and his main benefactor is Google and Bill Gates. Bill Gates' daddy, government, Army intelligence, and then the head of Planned Parenthood. And Gates is openly trying to produce vaccines that are delivered through mosquitoes so you can't get away from it, and saying we need zero human growth. And I mean, this is a really nasty guy, but it's always packaged in how sweet and loving it is. For the general public, the unwashed masses, the football fans. For the intelligentsia mid-level, it's, well, we got to get rid of the general public because they're hurting the earth. But then for the higher level crust, Hollywood, the heads of Google, others, they're openly told, and that's why Hollywood's so into my show, because they were told this stuff years ago in secret at these meetings, and now they hear me talking about it, making films about it. Because I reverse engineered the whole thing, and they're like, wow, how do you know about this? By the way, I've had as big as it gets in media contact me in the last few weeks. We're going to see if we get them on the show, but they're really waking up. But not because of me, because they're at the highest levels. They're hearing all this. They're being invited in, okay? And they're getting very close to this, folks. Now they think you're stupid and won't be smart enough to look into all this and find out I'm telling you the truth. They think they've got you. Almost 4 years ago, when my film Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and it's the blueprint from their own stated plans. The film has whatistheendgame.com or endgamethemovie.com that has an online bibliography for the whole documentary. And unfortunately, the documentary has only been seen around 10 million times for free on the internet. And people are like, unfortunately, that isn't a lot. No, it's not. Films like The Obama Deception, over 30 million times. Fall of the Republic, over 20 million times. Some of my other films, more than 15 million times. Endgame is the most important film I've ever made, period. Period. And it's evergreen. It's more powerful today than when I made it 4 years ago. And it's all their words. The most powerful people in the world, all they talk about is not dying. Of course, use common sense. I mean, 20 years ago, they synthesized genetically perfect cloned human growth hormone. Can you imagine what they've got now? Well, under this global government system, you're not going to get access to that. And they already have life extension systems if you follow these regimens. And if you don't get, your head chopped off in a car accident, where you'll be able to live several hundred years. And if you're able to do that, and they practice all this medicine on us, then it gets compartmentalized. What works is given to them. We get all the garbage. Then now they're going after our health, food, minerals, things that would help us to block the public from getting it. What would you do if you were a billionaire? What would you do? What would you do? Well, you would see the rest of the public as scum. You would go to these big meetings. You would be told, join the world government, join the collectivist elite program, and we'll transfer the general public's wealth to you. We'll wipe them out in orderly, compartmentalized function while we pose as the saviors. And they're going to have, instead of drug enforcement, they're going to have brain augmentation enforcement. People are going to be getting arrested for augmentation that's illegal. And you'll be happy to not have kids ever again if you're given a nice apartment, left alone, and are allowed to hook into a system that gives you unlimited pleasure. You're not going to want to even go on and live. And they have forecast all of this. And so all the tech they're selling us has back doors and spying systems built into it. And all the tech that Kurzweil and others are going to turn loose, NASA, Google, Microsoft funding all of this on you, is going to be almost impossible to turn down. And this is just one level of the technology while they get the real stuff. And they write about that like you're an idiot. Here is the new trailer for the new Kurzweil movie. Remember, this is coming out in August. And I got laughed at for saying, once they have their world government, they believe they'll be able to live forever. That's all from Google, from Schmidt and Gates and Turner and all of them. Prince Philip, Prince Charles, that's all they do 24/7. They don't take vaccines. They don't eat GMO food. They have their own farms. They admit it. They have emergency underground seed vaults for after they've wrecked everything to redesign it. These people are crazy. The point is, I'm not the crazy one reporting this to you. They go on to say, he's revealing our destiny. He did all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, over 150 years ago, British scientists wrote out this entire plan. Galton and others, you can go follow it. It's an endgame right through the founding of the UN, a global mop-up system to set up a global tyranny, cut off the resources. They wrote about carbon taxes 100 years ago. They've had this whole thing planned, and you got to give it to them. They have been planned. They have been focused. They've got their guru, their little front man out there. Notice he says 40 years in this film. In his books, and what he really says is that this has basically already happened to some degree, and he talks about there will be a total world government and how great it's going to be by 2020. He says the computers will see us as a mosquito and will swat us, and that once they merge with the computers, that they're going to swat us, and it won't even matter because they're going to be gods compared to us. I mean, you ought to hear what they really are saying. But you watch this, and it's how cute it is. It's how funny it is. It's how sweet it is. And I'm going to cover this more tomorrow and throughout the week, and I'm going to come back from break and play a few more of these clips. But in my film, Endgame Blueprint for Global Enslavement, I have all their countless quotes about once the world government's in place, they got to get rid of most of us because we can't have access to this. What's the best way to do it? Is it airborne Ebola or is it airborne human mousepox with a 99% kill rate? How do they get the bunkers built? How do they get the underground bases with the seeds built? I mean, I cover all this before they built the underground bunkers with the seeds. They've now done that. Who funded it? Rockefeller Foundation. Who funds Ray Kurzweil? And I got Aaron coming here in the last segment today with just a snapshot because he went to Bilderberg and covered it in Switzerland, and that was on the agenda. That's what these people are into. That's what they're doing. That's all they talk about. Well, of course, there are people that control trillions of dollars, worth hundreds of billions apiece in some cases, most of their wealth hidden. What would you be into? If you were worth hundreds of billions of dollars, you'd be into life extension. But then they sit around arguing, saying we can't give this to the public. And so in Endgame, I cover that that's what they're after because that's what they say in all their literature, not the popular books they sell to the sheep to say, oh, you'll be part of this. It's 40 years away. You've got time. Don't worry. How everything's going to be automated, remote controlled, your car, your house. They're already legalized in Nevada, Google cars without drivers. Next, it'll be you won't be allowed to drive your own car. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.